We want to know where those students come. Are they troublemakers? What countries do they come?
The pause, which is expected to be temporary, comes as the Trump administration is trying to crack down on anti-Semitism on campuses. Any social media posts expressing anti-Jewish views could keep some students from being granted a visa.
Sounds like Harvard is receiving tax dollars, but at the same time, they're not giving up the information. Therefore, Trump is like, hey, if y'all want to get this funding, we gotta see what's going on around here. What's going on YouTube? It's your boy 2Tough1, man. I'm not sure if y'all been living underneath the rock, but Trump has been at Harvard's head every day. He's not letting up. Hit that like button, subscribe button. We're finna get straight into the video.
We do want to get back, though, to the brewing question that is playing out even today about foreign students at universities, the visas that they obtain and come here on, and whether or not the Trump administration can foreclose that very process to international students when it comes to enrollment at these universities here. Our friend and colleague, Fox News' Rebecca Castor, has more details. Let's listen.
See what they got to say.
Dreams put on hold for international students who wish to study at U.S. universities. The State Department is pausing all student visa interviews while it makes changes to its vetting process, including expanded social media checks.
We want to know where those students come. Are they troublemakers? What countries do they come?
The pause, which is expected to be temporary, comes as the Trump administration is trying to crack down on anti-Semitism on campuses. Any social media posts expressing anti-Jewish views could keep some students from being granted a visa.
The president certainly had great concerns that there are foreign students, not everyone, but there are foreign students who come to this country, I do believe, who helped create this unrest.
Harvard is at the center of the Trump administration's battle with elite universities. Last week, the White House revoked the school's ability to enroll international students, a move Harvard is now fighting in court. Meanwhile, international students already in America feel caught in the crossfire.
We're all panicking. We're all overwhelmed. Time of uncertainty. Literally, like I've never experienced it before.
It feels very disorienting to have to try to think about whether or not I'm welcome here.
Harvard and White House lawyers will be back in court for arguments on this matter Thursday. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Rebecca, thanks so much. We do have a live vantage point over Boston, Mass. Take a look at that. You see there. In the meantime, though, this is the news today. I want to put this up from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He says this: the United States
will begin revoking visas of Chinese students, including those with connections to the Chinese Communist Party or studying in critical fields. Now, I'm not going to lie. President Trump has not been playing no games with anybody. I'm talking about all across the board. We're talking about Harvard. We're talking about welfare. We're talking about food stamps. We're talking about the economy. We're talking about jobs. Like, he is not playing no games, man. Comment down below. What's y'all's take on this? How do you feel about this? Do you think this is a wrong move, or do you think he's taking the necessary precautions to make America better? Let's see.
Will begin revoking visas of Chinese students, including those with connections to the Chinese Communist Party or studying in critical fields. Let's talk about all of this, because it's all of the same piece. We're going to do that with Jay Green at the Heritage Foundation. He joins me.
Let's see what he got to say.
Jay, good to see you here. I know you obviously have been following this extremely closely. It seems like there's kind of two strains of thought. Revoking visas from international students who already have a visa, they already got one, and they're already enrolled, and then whole cloth preventing international students from enrolling at Harvard, carte blanche. Can you help us tease out those strains?
Excuse me, y'all, but hey, man, this boy Jay Green, I bet you he ain't even got no pants on. He in the crib chilling. That boy big chilling. He didn't even want to go. He didn't even want to show up for this right now. He probably at the crib smoking a cigar, reading a book. No cap.
So, look, coming to the United States to study is a privilege, not a right. And so students have to apply for visas and they have to follow certain rules. And part of the problem is that we have 1.1 million foreign students in the United States. And that's actually too many for the US government really to keep track of.
That's a lot.
And to ensure are following the rules. So they depend on the universities that are hosting those students to cooperate, to actually enforce rules on those students and report violations to the government so that visas can be revoked. The problem is that many of these selective universities, Harvard, Columbia, MIT, appeared to be failing to enforce their rules in order to shield international students from consequences. So they're acting like sanctuary cities where they don't want the students deported, so they don't crack down on rules, they don't suspend them, and they don't report the information to the government. This has forced the Trump administration to demand disciplinary records from Harvard so that they could find out who's breaking the rules. And Harvard is refusing to turn over those records. And it's because Harvard refused to turn over the records that the Trump administration has suspended the ability of Harvard to participate in enrolling foreign students. Now, that
sounds like Harvard is receiving tax dollars, but at the same time, they're not giving up the information. Therefore, Trump is like, hey, if y'all want to get this funding, we gotta see what's going on around here. That's what it sounds like. Now, if I'm wrong, comment down below if I got the wrong take on this. You know what I'm saying? I'm very optimistic. But that's what it sounds like. Sound like they getting tax dollars. And Trump is like, hey, if y'all want this money, y'all gonna have to let me see something.
It does not revoke the visas of the students there. They still have visas. They can transfer to other schools. They just wouldn't be able to enroll at Harvard this fall.
So you just kind of laid out kind of the rationale from the Trump administration about why they're doing this. I got to ask you, though, do they have the power and the authority to do this? Because this was swiftly, temporarily paused. This federal judge there in Boston suspended enforcement of this decision until the courts can consider the matter. They'll be in court very, very soon later this week. So does a presidential administration, does the executive branch, can it tell Harvard, you can't take in any more international students until you do X, Y, and Z?
Look, the courts will ultimately decide. And you can expect that Harvard is likely to win in the first round because they go to judges in Boston who are friendly to them. And that's why they win initially. Now, whether they win ultimately is unclear. But the point is that even if Harvard wins in court and they are allowed to continue enrolling foreign students, that doesn't mean that their students will continue getting visas to enter the country and come study with them. That has to be done by embassies and consulates around the country. And those decisions, the decision to grant or deny a visa, is not subject to judicial review. This is a Supreme Court doctrine called consular non-reviewability. So
that's gonna be tough. So even if they beat Trump in court, it's still the state of the matter is, can they get the visas and can they even get over here? And then, just right now, Trump is not allowing a lot of people inside of the states as it is. I mean, we're talking about all the way from people coming from across the border, all the way to if you talk about transgenders as well. So, it's tough times right now, for real. What y'all think about this?
So even if Harvard wins, they're likely to lose anyway. And so I suspect this is all just positioning for what will ultimately be an agreement between Harvard and the Trump administration.
Yeah, I have to ask, because obviously we use here, especially in the media, the word unprecedented a lot with regard to the Trump administration. Has this ever been adjudicated, this issue, in the federal courts, at the Supreme Court, whether a presidential administration can meddle into the kind of good working order or not of a university when it comes to the enrollment of foreign students, the revoking of their visas? Has it ever been adjudicated? Are we crossing the Rubicon here?
Actually, these are not such unprecedented incidents. They are in accumulation and in speed. All of that is unprecedented. But the fact that a presidential administration has intervened with private universities and told them they need to change operations in order to comply with civil rights law, Obama did that. Obama did that with Title IX. He told all the universities they had to change their due process procedures with regard to sexual harassment or assault charges. Universities resisted, said that they were autonomous, that they didn't want to change. Obama forced them. Yeshiva University just last year was forced to have an LGBTQ club The university said we're private, it's against our mission, against our principles. Civil rights law was interpreted as forcing them to do so.
Okay.
And so the idea that universities are forced to do things, including private universities, because administrations believe civil rights requires it, is something that actually occurs fairly regularly.
So just to kind of play out the hypothetical here, say Harvard didn't take any federal grants, say their endowment was not tax exempt, say they didn't have hardly any affiliation with the federal government, would we still see, you think, some of these actions, or could they be left alone?
So if they don't want to have any interference, they could be left alone if they simply decline taking taxpayer money.
He answered my question. Like I said early in the video, I was like, are they, like I said, it sounds like they're taking taxpayer dollars, okay, taking it, they're bringing people in, especially out of state, overseas, whatever you want to call it, and then they're not documenting and making sure that they are not breaking the rules. And Trump is like, no, sir, you want to take our taxpayer dollars and use it? Because it's Americans out here that's not getting a single dime. Like, if you're born in America, you're not getting no assistance unless you know how to jug and finesse the welfare system. You know what I'm saying? But if you're born in America, you're not getting no benefits. You're not getting no free checks. I'm talking about there's veterans who have served for this country and they can barely even get their benefits. So it's going to be tough. But somebody from overseas or out of states, whole nother country, they gonna get the benefits. So this is kind of big. This is no joke right here. This is no joke. And Harvard, hey, y'all better get right, because I don't see them disconnecting and never receiving taxpayer dollars ever again. Like I said, colleges and universities, they make so much money. People don't understand. That's probably one of the most lucrative systems ever in the world. Imagine I groom you up from freaking kindergarten all the way through high school, and I say, hey, you're gonna go to school, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna get a degree, even though you don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life. I don't care if you finish it or not. You're gonna get these loans. You're gonna pay me every month for your student loans for the rest of your life. You can't tell me they ain't getting no money.
Hillsdale College in Michigan is a good example of an institution that preserves its autonomy and operates the way it wishes because it does not take taxpayer money. Harvard takes quite a lot of taxpayer money, even though it has more than $50 billion endowment, and therefore is subject to the Civil Rights Act and Title VI and Title IX of the Civil Rights Act. And then they have to work things out with the Trump administration. On the issue of foreign students, however, no university is exempt from needing to get visas and follow the rules for visas for their students. And so that is something that every university must follow because entry to this country is controlled by the administration.
Yes, I'm familiar with Hillsdale College. My father is an alum here. I want to move on, though, to another side of this story here. The announcement by Secretary Rubio today. Because it's not just enrolling international students, is if they violate X, Y, and Z, they will have them revoked. You see here from Secretary Rubio saying the United States will begin revoking visas of Chinese students, including those with connections to the Chinese Communist Party or studying in critical fields. Are there free speech issues here, Jay? Not when it just comes to this, but when it comes to some of these, who have proclivities toward the Palestinian cause, the writings that they have done, the speeches that they have made, their affiliation with certain groups. Do you see any gray area there on free speech First Amendment grounds for these students, yes, who are foreign students?
What are you going to say on this?
I don't see any free speech issues here.
Okay.
So there is no free speech exemption to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. That is, universities must ensure that all students are able to access the benefits of their education and cannot be denied those benefits because of their race, color, or national origin. Jews are covered under this, under the national origin term. And so you can't do things that interfere with the ability of people to access their education and say, well, it's just my speech. So remember, the civil rights violations that we're concerned about here are not simply things that people say about how they feel about the war in the Middle East or how they feel about Palestinian cause. None of those things are violations of civil rights. What are violations, and what all of these universities have permitted, enabled, and even rewarded, is blocking Jewish students from crossing campus and going to their classes, disrupting the normal educational process by standing up in the middle of class and shouting slogans, and even assaulting Jewish students, which has twice occurred at Harvard. And in fact, one of the students accused of assaulting a Jewish student has been declared marshal of the commencement at the Divinity School this week.
Yes.
And so they continue to reward students who don't say things, but who do things that interfere with the ability of Jews to get the benefits of their education.
Sounds like corruption at its finest. You take tax dollars, you bring in people from overseas, out of state, out the country. You let them run around, you let them do what they want to do. And this is the result. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying everybody's a bad person, but hey, this is what's happening. Hit that like button, subscribe button, comment down below what y'all think about the video. It's your boy Too Tough One. I'm going them out.